What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is COD Espresso, and welcome back to another episode of the 5 things that changed, which I gotta say a few things before we jump into this. This is, firstly, my favorite series by far to make, and I'm really happy you guys are enjoying this as well. It seems like you guys are enjoying it just as much as I am making it, so thank you dudes so much for the support recently. The last episode currently sits at just over 550 likes, and the one before that now over 1,200 likes at the time of making this. So that to me is just absolutely mind-blowing. That's insane. So thank you so much for the support, and if you enjoy this, drop a like down below. Let's try and set a like goal here for this one. I don't usually do it, and I think this one's a pretty packed episode, so let's go for 500 likes here on this one. That would be absolutely incredible. Definitely by far the most ambitious like goal I've ever done. But finally, if you dudes are new, make sure you hit that subscribe button to catch even more of these every Thursday. So with all that said, let's talk about our 5 things. Firstly, what we've got on the table is the specialists themselves, or rather, I guess we could say how they were approached while still locked in the beta. If you guys look at the game now, firstly, we know what each specialist is, but at the time of the beta, we knew of 8 of the 9 back then. However, the locked screens for each were a little bit slightly different. Currently, if you have a locked specialist, their info still pops up with who they are, their in-action image of them showcasing the specialist character, and the basic information like that. However, back in the beta, each locked specialist was a little bit more bland. They had the call sign of each specialist, save that of Firebreaks because he was not revealed to the public at this point, but each specialist had only a very minute amount of information, that only being the background image behind the specialist character. Not even the image of the specialist was able to be viewed. There was a default placeholder icon for each specialist no matter what the character really looked like, and that was one of the things that I think looking back on it was really awkward looking. By now, I'm sure that you can tell that all of these aren't really what the specialists look like, and it's just a little bit of a placeholder here for it. So an intriguing little way to cover up everything, I think, back in the beta. As well, one final note with this is that the piece of info that is not even given is the unlock level here for each of it. Going into it, you didn't really know when these specialists were unlocked at the very beginning. But next up on our things that changed, we're gonna be talking about some secret weapons, if you wanna call it that. For those that do remember, when the PC and Xbox One beta went live, we found out a lot about not only multiplayer, but Black Ops 3 in general. Now, why is that? Because data miners can go into the game code of PC files for the application and find out little things hidden in the strings of code, or in this case, entire assets that were not made public at that time. That's actually how we found Firebreak and the flamethrower that we saw last week, and that we'll actually talk about here in just a few moments. But data miners had a field day with the code and pulled up a few various weapons that were not in the game code at that point in time. The ones that probably most resonate with you guys are the M27 and the MP7. Those have been the mainstream focus here of all those secret weapons, if you want to call it that. But believe it or not, there were actually a few more, including 2 shotguns and one known as the Power Bolt. Now, this Power Bolt caught a lot of people's attention because it was a sniper rifle and it seemed really powerful. Well, to this day, it's actually still in the game. It's just now known as the SVG-100. So that one sniper that was classified in the beta, that's what it was, and it still is a more powerful one here today. So it's an interesting way to come across what was a new weapon. The others, excluding the snipers, have yet to make their way into the game, but it's more than likely they were modeled to be the base weapons that created the ICR and the VMP and the Pharaoh. But nonetheless, the SVG-100 was previously known as the Power Bolt. Now, number 3 today is going to be throwing it back a little bit to last week. We talked about Firebreak, the at the time unknown specialist that was yet to be publicly revealed, but during data mining was leaked out. So we talked a little bit how the Purifier was a different weapon model than that of its current state, to which some people seem to believe that it was fake, which I promise you it's not. And we're gonna have more evidence here of it in literally just a few seconds, but it was just an unfinished placeholder asset, but legit nonetheless. Now, currently there are weapons showcased in the map Stronghold, in which they show off some specialist weapons, and there's some color-coordinated robots as well to play into the scene. But what makes this as intriguing is that during the beta, these showcased weapons had the older version of the Purifier. Now, of course, the entire arsenal of specialists is not showcased. As you can see, both before and after, that there are parts that focus on the specialists, but also ones that are just regular weapons like the 48 Dredge. But the cool part is that Firebreak's Purifier is the old asset model within the beta's version of this showcase. Once again, kind of hinting towards that 9th specialist that at the time we didn't have a clue what it was, but it was something that was there and we kind of presumed what it would be. And later on, it was changed when the asset itself itself was changed as well. Nothing game-breaking or really anything that's really altering, but it's interesting to see the placeholder versus now, and truthfully, like I said it last week, I think this placeholder was actually a lot cooler looking than that of the current Purifier, but that's just me. So next up on the list, it may surprise a few people and maybe you would wish it was still like this, but if you remember back in the beta, there was a very different list of weapon unlocks in terms of the sequential order to how they were unlocked. So let's take a look at the assault rifles, for example, here with this one. Currently, the unlock list is as follows. The KN-44 and the XR2 are the defaults, followed by that of the HVK, the ICR, the Man-O-War, the Shiva, and then finally the M8A7. But back in the beta, it was a tad bit different. I'm talking the ARC-7, which is what the KN-44 was formerly known as. The Man-O-War was the default as well with the ARC-7, and then the following unlocks for the ARs afterwards were in the order of the HVK, the Shiva, the M8, and the XR2, and finally the classified weapon that was withheld from the beta, that being the ICR. Want to talk about the SMGs? Those currently have an unlocked status of the Kuda and the VMP being the defaults, followed by that of the Weevil, the Vesper, the Pharaoh, and then the Razorback. But in the beta, it was the Kuda and the Weevil as the defaults, followed by that of the Razorback, the Vesper, the VMP, and then the classified Pharaoh that was not in the beta. Another very interesting thing to note is the weapon levels themselves. The M8A7 was actually unlockable at level 27, and the defaults like the XR2 that are now defaulted today were unlocked at level 37. So with the XP being weighted at what I believe was half at the time of the beta, it took definitely a lot longer to get these, and definitely I think I'd love to have the M8 by level 27 currently, but that's just not the way things unfolded here with the game. Now finally for number 5 here, as we can all assume, the betas are stripped versions, or rather incomplete versions of the full game that we know now. So that said, we know that there's a bunch of game modes withheld from the beta build that everyone played back in August. But what you might not know is that some of these game modes that were introduced in the beta weren't actually there at first. The full game mode list previously at the launch of the beta was Team Deathmatch, Domination, Demolition, Kill Confirmed, Hardpoint, Capture the Flag, and Search and Destroy. The standards here with that. But that is when the game launched on August 18th for the first part of the public beta, the very first day. Now, you may be wondering to yourself, but wait a minute, I distinctly remember the modes like Uplink and Safeguard being in the beta. I remember playing those. Well, you're 100% right, but they actually weren't added in immediately. They weren't there from the very beginning of the beta. They were actually added 4 days later on August 22nd for the launch of the open PS4 beta. So, though a lot of people remember that it was in the beta and may swear by it being there from the beginning, it actually wasn't. That was one of those things that changed from the beta to the beta, I guess you could say, but it's an interesting fact, I think, here nonetheless. But that is gonna wrap up this episode of 5 Things That Changed. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this. I'm having a ton of fun with this series, so let me know your thoughts down there in the comment section down below. Which of these do you like the most? Which do you wish would have stayed in the game? Whatever it may be, I'd love to hear your thoughts. But if you did like it, don't forget to drop a like rating down below. We're going, once again, for 500 likes here on this, and that's gonna take a lot, but it's, once again, the most ambitious like goal I've ever asked for, so let's see if we can do it. And if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe for daily content, including new episodes of this series every single Thursday. And finally, if you want to follow me over on Twitter to get a little bit more personal and in touch, I'm always active over on there, and it's the best place to reach me. But with all that said, though, thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you guys did enjoy, and hopefully you guys are having a great day. I'll see you guys later. My name is Nikolai Espresso. Take care, and peace.